Joining us today on Best Dog Life is Jill Barsky. She is known as the pet-friendly realtor. When she is not helping find homes for people and their animals, Jill is rescuing lost family pets, stray dogs, cats, and other animals for Lost Animal Resource Group, a volunteer-based East Coast organization. The animals at LARG helps to rescue often have no one else who is able or willing to search for them or take the time to rescue them from their life of danger, suffering, and loneliness. So today I wanted to chat with Jill to learn more about her animal rescue efforts. So thanks for joining us today, Jill.
Thank you. I appreciate the time very much so.
Not at all. Me too. I appreciate you being here. So just my first question here is, LARG provides an invaluable service to help rescue animals. How did the rescue organization get started?
So when we say rescue animals, there's a difference between, per se, rescue groups who are doing adoption days, pulling, that type of thing. We do have a branch of that, but our main focus is to help people who have lost their pets, rescue groups where they have escaped fosters, escaped pets that have come off of transport. We help ones, like say you call animal control and you see a stray dog and you don't know who it belongs to. And they're like, we're too busy, we can't come, we don't know whose dog it is, we're not coming unless you actually have the dog. And this is nothing against animal control, because believe me, animal control across the country are just swamped and there's just not enough of them. So people think they're just gonna come and capture this loose dog, and that, or loose cat, or loose whatever. And that's usually not the case. They will try, if it's an endangerment to people, like if the dog is running through traffic, they'll try and come, police will try and come. But if you see a loose dog running down your sidewalk, they're not coming, you know, unless it's endangering someone. So then we usually get the call to try and come assist and safely contain that loose animal.
Got you. Very interesting. I didn't realize that was the extent of what animal control would do. That's interesting.
And I have to give animal control a lot of props. So, I mean, we work hand in hand with them. I very much so. And so, you know, whenever we get a call or we get something, I always check in with animal control to see if they've been on it, what's going on. I'll let them know if I'm putting a trap out somewhere. So it literally is a partnership with them.
Got you. That makes total sense. So I know your organization provides some very specialized services and sometimes offers like the last line of hope to find lost animals. So can you tell us a little bit about your services, from pet tracking, trapping, to fostering and adoption, like all these things that you do? I'd just love to hear about, you know, sort of how it works.
So another probably thing will be my own another video will be my own rescue, my 501c3, the adoption part of it. But what happens with LARG, Lost Animal Resource Group, is we will get a call and there'll be a loose dog. Like for example, and this is one yesterday, there was actually a loose emu. And we were called in to try and help assist with the loose emu. You know, I've done a loose peacock, and I've done, you know, you name it, and you know, I've had those calls. But in general, it's the loose cat or dog. And what happens is people don't know what to do. And it's really unfortunate because, you know, your first reaction when you see a loose animal is to run and try and catch it. And that is just your natural instinct. So that's a problem, because most of these that are loose are scared, are frightened. They will not come to you. And so you have to, your brain has to be like, okay, I got to stop, not call, not chase, and do everything that my brain is saying to do, but not do. So we try to educate people, you know, so we try to do prevention. We work with fosters, with adopters, with rescues, so that this doesn't happen. But it is unfortunate because things happen, you know, and there's a lot of things that actually can be prevented that people don't realize. And so I'll go through the list of things after that. But when you're talking about the last hope, we have trapped, safely contained dogs, cats that have been out for years that could not be trapped and contained. And then we get the call And then we'll use one of our, either what we call a box trap, and I'll send you a picture of that, or we have a missy trap, which is a huge kennel like trap, or we have a drop net, which we use. I mean, we have all kinds of things that we do to get these pets safely. And you're going to ask me, like, well, how do you know which one to use? And so we basically start off with a box trap, and the box trap, we'll see how they react to it. Many of these animals that we're trying to trap are so scared out of their wits that they will not go into a box trap. I had one that this beagle, he had been lost from his owner. They had just adopted him. And the funny part about it was that, you're always thinking, okay, they're not going in the box trap, right? They're not going in. So a couple days went by, we had the box trap out, and then I changed the food in there, and I literally set the box trap, and I went to my car, and my phone was going off that he was in there.
Oh, wow.
Happy as he could be in the box trap, like, oh, okay, I'm eating, I was like, okay, great, you made this one easy.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it's not that easy. And the one thing that we do have when we are out doing this, though, we are surrounded by wildlife. And so, not on purpose, but we get raccoons in our traps, we get foxes in our traps. Thank God we haven't gotten a coyote yet in our trap. A friend of ours had a big black bear in her missy trap. He let himself out, which was good.
Okay.
We had a bobcat near the trap. So we get all kinds of interesting, we get, of course, the birds and the squirrels. And there's one I will actually send you that we got on one of the cameras, which I couldn't even tell you what it looks like. It's very scary. I don't know what it is that was on there, but we're usually trapping late at night when it's quiet, because that's usually dawn and dusk, or like when they're out searching for food. So unless you see them out during the day, and we're talking like dogs and cats, mainly dogs, though, they usually tend to like stay low. And then like when the sun goes down and things are quiet, then they'll come out and look for food throughout the night. So literally, as I was telling you when I came here, I'm watching. So we have our cameras that are literally cellular, and we're watching them 24/7. So we get feeds all day long. My camera's going off if something's going in it or something's going around it, and we have to go and let those animals out, because we will not, we're not going to keep them in there, especially in the heat, the extremes, the heat and the cold weather. So it's like a full-time job plus a full-time job.
Yeah, because how many traps do you have like going at one time? And because they're probably all over the place, right?
Oh, they're all over the place. I mean, we have probably 20 plus at least in just the small little area between our box traps, our missy traps. And that's just one little area, and then we have people who are in different counties who are our volunteers, and they have theirs. So this is just mainly our main group right here where we are.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know when you get the chance to sleep, but
I don't. Sleep is overrated, let me tell you.
yeah.
Very overrated. But this is my heart and soul. So I love real estate, and I love helping people and their pets find the perfect place. That's always been my heart and soul. But when you are dealing with a lost pet, and especially an owner or a foster who has lost their pet, it is heart-wrenching. I mean, it is, they don't know what to do. And, we're experienced. We come in and we help them, and we take over, and we work directly hand in hand with them. And so having the owner or having the rescue being a partner with us is extremely helpful, because we couldn't do this all by ourselves. We need people to help us out.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. Team effort. So how many animals do you think you've rescued over the years?
I'll have to go back. I mean, we literally have thousands upon thousands.
Yeah.
I mean, like literally, if you look at our sheet, and I apologize, like I told you, I literally just walked in from trapping.
Yeah,
but we can look at the numbers. But I mean, in the years since we started this, we get calls, and we get calls. I mean, we're East Coast, but I mean, we get calls in the West Coast. We get calls up for like Maine, and we get calls for Texas. We get calls from Florida. Can we try to assist? Because our specialized group, there really is not that many specialized groups across the country that do this. So those of us that are, we try to work hand in hand again with those groups across the country and see who we can get, or work with an animal control group there and help them and try and figure it out to all work together to try and rescue, whoever needs to be rescued.
Yeah, no, that makes sense because obviously you can't be everywhere at once. That's for sure. I was wondering, like, once a pet or an animal goes missing, what's sort of the success rate of finding the animal?
So it really depends, and it's not to not give you a percentage, but so there's a lot of factors involved. One is, for example, if they have just been newly adopted, right, and they have been astray out on their own, and they are street smart, you
Hmm.
know, they're the hard ones because they know how to avoid the traps. They know what to do. Not saying that we will never get them, but they are our hardest cases because they know how to fend for themselves. The beagle, who I did, he was like in that trap instantaneous. He was like, oh, we did chicken, rotisserie chicken with some bacon and stuff. And he was like, oh, that looks really good. And he was like right in there, didn't have to think about it. He's
Yeah.
like, so and the other thing too, which is really hard, and I beg people, and you will see on my Facebook posts, you will see me complain about this, beg people, ask people nicely. But again, if the dog is chased, and I'll focus on cats as well, but mainly for the dogs. If the dogs are chased out of what we call their safe spot, usually they tend to stay near. Like if there's an accident, they'll tend to stay near the accident, or if they've lost from their home, unless they're really chased away, they will tend to stay within a 5 mile radius, but the thing is that we have had, unfortunately, like kids on bicycles, and this is where we try to educate early on to say, please don't chase that dog on your bicycle. Or people will, if the dog's lost in the woods, people get on ATVs and go and chase the dog, trying to get the dog on the ATV. So to have so to give you like a realistic number, it's very hard because really, truly, every single situation is different. You could have a blind, we've had a lot of elderly blind deaf dogs that go missing. And people think, with the owners, they're like, oh, my dog's not going to take off. They let it to go out to the bathroom, not on a leash. All of a sudden, the dog is gone. And not necessarily, I mean, we do have a lot of theft, but the dog just goes, doesn't know where it's going, and could be anywhere and just takes off. And it only takes literally a split second for this to happen. And I can tell you there are so many scenarios, and I'd like to go through the scenarios or some of them, because there are a lot that people don't think. Like, we're coming on summertime, right?
Hmm.
So people want to roll down their windows for their dogs, right, to get some nice air, which is great. Except we have had dogs who have actually jumped out of moving cars out of the window. So we beg people, secure your dogs. It's great. You want to have the window open, put them in a seatbelt, open it up. We had one that the guy had, his dog had jumped out of the back of the RV, and they didn't know where he jumped out because they were driving and they had the window open and he just jumped out,
Okay.
So that is like, or kids opening doors. We get this all the time. Oh my God, my kid opened up the door and the dog's gone. So I try to work with people and say, look, obviously you're keeping your kids and you're obviously keeping the dog,
Yeah.
but you as the adult have to make sure that your animal is secure, because you have to know your kids are going to be coming in and out. So you have to make sure that your dog is secure. One of the things that I am just absolutely cuckoo crazy about is, and Carmen, our pet tracker, will tell you, she says, like little puffs of steam come out of my head. But people who have fenced yards, I beg you guys to put locks on your gates, because, and not like padlocks, because we have a lot of theft in the area, number one. Number two, well-meaning kids who hear dogs barking, they want to come into your yard, and then all of a sudden they open up the yard, and then the dogs are gone. Number three, like for me, when I have my mowers come, they cannot even get into my yard. Like I've worked it out with them that usually they come, say, between Tuesday, between 3 and 4. And then I go and I make sure that my dogs are inside, and that I open up the gates. I take the padlock off. I am in control of my yard, just like a utility person. Or if you're moving, you want to make sure. So all of these things, like people just assume that their pet is not going to run out the door. And you have to get out of that mindset. I think people get way too comfortable with their pets in terms of like they trust them, they give them too much credit. And one of the things that I've heard over the years is between fosters and adopters is that, well, my other dog didn't do it, so I just assumed that this dog wouldn't do it. And you can never, I mean, it's like a person. Each one has their own personality. So you can never trust your dog to do or not to do the wrong thing. I mean, to do the right thing, because you don't know what's going to happen. If they see a deer outside, or maybe they see something that they hadn't seen before, maybe there's a dog in heat that moved next door, maybe there's a lost dog in heat, and then all of a sudden your dog is out the door, so there are so many scenarios that can be prevented. And it's really sad for me, because I obviously cannot control pets getting hit and killed, or hit and injured. And there are things that just the easiest thing that can happen. One is, and I am a big proponent of that. Like I lose my everything, as I beg people, do not use retractable leashes. Retractable leashes are absolutely the worst thing that you can ever have on your pet, ever have on your pet. Because I have seen people who are walking down the street and they have their retractable leash on, and all of a sudden a car is coming, and the dog gets hit by the car because they have a, like, it's, they can't pull it in. Or another dog's coming and it's on the retractable leash and you can't pull the dog in, or the retractable leash breaks. And it's just so many scenarios. They are the worst ever. I wish they would never sell a retractable leash again. And we always say that you should have a collar and a harness with 2 separate leads, not one leash attached to both, but like a martingale collar and then a harness. And then I always literally, I have a bazillion of these that I carry with me all the time. These are slip leads that you can get from the vet or whatever. And if anyone wants one, I'll send it to them. But it's very easy. And this is not in a replacement for a leash, but God forbid that you're out and you need to secure a dog, like a loose dog or something. This is very easy, because literally it goes through the hole, and then boom, like 1, 2, 3, you can get it tight. There's no way that if you have a loose dog that you're going to be able to like do the collar and everything. So, I always carry a bunch of these. And I always tell people, really, it will save you a lifetime of heartache by just doing simple little things, to keep your pet safe. And then I had one adopter who, her dog got loose, and she said, the rescue didn't tell me to do 2, and she didn't have it clipped all the way on the harness, and it came off, and the dog was gone in a split second, just gone. And so it's very sad and frustrating for me, because there's, just an ounce of prevention could save a lot of animals' lives.
Yeah, that makes total sense. It's just a matter of like a little bit of safety will save you from being sorry later. Good to be a little bit obsessive compulsive at times to make sure your dog is safe.
That's me. And I will send you a list that you can post. And we also have a video that's really good. It's called Calming Signals. Okay. And it's a video that every pet owner, well, actually not even every pet, every person should watch, because if a loose dog does come upon you, it will tell you what to do, instead of chasing.
Yeah, that would be great. I'd really appreciate it. No,
Yeah,
I share the same. I'm always like you. I'm always hyper vigilant about it just because I'm so worried. Because if they do get loose, it's just, like you said, if they get hit or you can't find them, it's just I'd rather spend that extra minute to take care of it now and not have to worry about it later.
it is. It is. And people think that, if I put my box trap out, or I put the Missy trap out, or we do the drop net, that we're automatically going to get the dog. And it is, or if you're putting the trap out for the cat, I will tell you, it's a process. I mean, it's not just like, oh, just set it, except for with like the beagle, but in general, you have dogs that have come from bad situations, that are abused, and they just cannot get themselves to go past the threshold of any of these. So it is really a combination of watching it on camera. Well, first of all, you have to locate it. So you would do like, either with sightings, or you would use Carmen, like the pet tracker, to first locate it. And then once you locate the animal, then you have to figure out how you're safely going to contain the animal. And that's basically where I come in and I do what I need to do.
Gotcha. No, thanks for breaking down the steps. Um, so I know you recently worked with Lucky Dog. I read about this Lucky Dog Animal Rescue, and you were working to find a lost dog named Nala. So I was wondering if you could sort of go through that story and what happened there.
Sure. And the one thing before I go into Nala, I will say, and I will ask all of your viewers, this is really important. We need sightings to locate a lost pet. And with social media being out there, the one thing that is very detrimental to your pet and to us trying to do this effectively is when you post a sighting. So what we ask is that you call the owner directly, or you call our group in charge. My name and number is usually on the flyer, usually somewhere where you can get in touch with me. And the reason I ask people not to post the exact location of the sighting, because you always have someone who's like, I'm going to go get that dog. I can get it safely. I know what I'm doing. And once that dog is moved from its safe spot, all bets are off. So we appreciate, and I say this sincerely, we appreciate every sighting call that comes in. We just ask not to post them anywhere. It is a secret. There's a reason it's a secret. It's a process, but every time I have to get on people to please, they'll say the dog was just at, XYZ and third, and it'll be all of a sudden it'll be all over social media. And it's very detrimental. It does not work. So with Nala, what happened was, she is a rescue dog from Lucky Dog. Marco was her foster, and Marco was amazing. He jumped in to help with everything. But Marco was also one of those people who has a dog that he has had for years, and Nala escaped when he opened his door to his apartment. She bolted, where he could open his door to his apartment and his dog would never even bolt or whatever. I shouldn't say never. And I told him about this. I'm like, never, never trust. But he's like, he wouldn't run away from him. But regardless, and it was a split second of her being out. And she's scared. And so normally what we try to do when we are safely containing a loose dog that's scared is we got to figure out, first of all, where the dog is going, the pattern. So Nala was staying close to where she was lost. She was doing a circle, a very tight circle, less than a mile, a very tight circle. The only thing was she was crossing 3 busy roads, like literally 3 busy roads. And we were just praying to God that she wasn't going to get hit. So normally I do not set traps up on either side of a main road, because you want to try to contain them to one specific area. There was nothing we could do, because every second Nala was either on one side or the other. You know, I mean, there wasn't anything that I could do to get her to stay on that side, no matter what food, no matter what I did. We tried to contain her. So I see her on camera on the left side, you know, and then I'm like, oh, there she is on the right side, you know. So at that point, I had to make the decision, and it was a very hard decision because it encourages, of course, you know, for her to be going on both sides. But I had a trap on both sides. I had the box trap on each side. And again, you know, she would come close to the trap, but not go into the trap, come close to the trap, not go to, you know, and each night we were watching and we would set the trap and everything. And we're like, come on, you can do it. You can do it. And so the night, I don't know if you'd seen my post, but the night that we had gotten her, we frequently have raccoons come to our traps, and I love them. But they sit in the trap and they're like, dude, I'm just gonna sit here and eat all your food and be happy. And I'm like, dude, you need to go. No more buffet. So the raccoon came. He was in there. The trap went off. Like, Marco, and he's like, I'm gonna go let the raccoon out because he was on the camera. He goes to let the raccoon out, and he's like, I hear her, and because she had a little like chain on.
Oh yeah.
He's like, Jill, I hear her, and I said, okay, back off, back off. So of course, within a minute, Nala's on camera, right in front of the trap, and the raccoon's in the trap,
Oh.
and she's like, okay, you're in the trap, you're eating the food, you know, because we try not to put a lot of food outside the trap because we want her to go in the trap. So I was like, oh, of course, tonight would be the night. Like, we're trying to get her, and the raccoon is stuck in the trap. So we're all texting each other back and forth. And then finally, Nala like goes off to the side. So I'm like, Marco, I said, you got to do this quick. You got to go in, literally get in, get out. And so he's like, okay, I got this. He goes, lets the raccoon out. Okay, good. No problem. Nala comes back, and she's like sniffing, but she didn't go in, you know. So I was like, Marco, you got to get some more food in the trap because the raccoon ate it. So he literally goes, and his apartment, just so you, like, his apartment is right down from where the trap is. So it's not like he had to drive over there. He like walked down the hill. So I was like, Marco, you got to go. So he's like, okay. So he fills the trap up. So I was like, make sure, because we got to try and get her tonight. Like, Marco literally turns his back, and like within a minute, the raccoon was back in the trap again.
Wow.
And we were like, oh my God, stop eating our food. You gotta get out of there. And then he's like, I hear Nala. And I'm like, get out of there. I was so Marco. I was like, get out there again. So it was like this comedy of errors, you know. And finally, like, I'm not kidding you, by the grace of God, Marco filled it up for a third time, and she actually beat the raccoon to the food. You know, she was hungry. She'd been out a while. She was hungry, and we got her in there, which was like amazing. And so the hardest part, though, and this is a lesson too, normally when we trap, or when I trap with my box trap, I don't let them out of the box trap right there. Usually we carry this big, huge box with the dog in it to my car, and then we drive the dog wherever, somewhere safe, before we even take the dog out, because it's very stressful. So the problem was, where this trap was deep in the woods, and this was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and Marco and I could not carry that trap up by ourselves because it was heavy with her in it. So Marco and I then had to, and I had like 3 slip leads. I mean, she must have had like 5 different leashes on her. And I said to him, Marco, here's what we're going to do. I said, this is very rare. I rarely do this, but we don't have a choice right now. Literally, I said, when I lift up the back, you know, you're going to put this on her, and then we're going to put this on her, and then we're going to put this on her. And when I say take her out, I mean, you have to like almost football tackle her, because she's going to try and run. So I made him like literally take all these, like wrap all the leashes like around it like this, and then literally be ready with a blanket to like tackle her. And sure enough, she tried to bolt. She literally tried to bolt. And thank God, like, Marco's a pretty big guy, and he was able to like put her in the blanket, had the leashes. And then and this is what people don't see. Okay, so now we have to get her Marco up the hill because our cars are like parked way away. We're in parking spaces. He's carrying her. He can barely walk. I'm like holding the back of him so he doesn't fall, to get him up the hill. We finally got him up the hill, and my car is filled with all kinds of trapping stuff. So we got him and her to the top of the hill. I had to drive his car over, drove his car over, got him in there, and we did this maneuvering like with the leashes. I'm like, don't open the door, like get her in, but hold it. Like it was a whole big thing. So still like 2:00, 2:30 in the morning. Then all of a sudden, my camera's going off at the other trap. So there's another raccoon at the other trap, right? And so where we had our trap wasn't in, not that I couldn't have gone myself, but it was like kind of back in the woods, and Marco had been going with me back to the woods, so I didn't want to walk back there alone. So he's like, well, we have Nala, what are we going to do? And I'm like, okay, here's the plan. I said, I'm going to follow you in your car. We're going to go to the other trap. So we did, and then we had to switch off again, like me holding the leash, like I wouldn't let him get out. We had to it was a whole big thing about not letting go of the leash, just keeping her safe in there. Then he went and got the raccoon out, shut that trap. And then I followed him to his apartment, and mind you, his apartment is like 3 stories up, and it's like 4 actual floor, huge flights of stairs. So he had to carry Nala all the way up. He's still having the leashes around. I'm literally like standing behind him, trying to make sure that he doesn't drop her. I mean, it was just one of those, and this is all the things that people don't see. And they say, oh, you got Nala safe. I'm like, well, yeah. But it was an adventure. It was an adventure, but she's doing great. And when I see the pictures, it's all worth it. But yeah, I got home at like 4:30 in the morning, and yeah.
Wow, no, that is incredible. That is incredible. Yeah, people don't know the amount of effort you go through to find the dog. That's for sure.
So it's yeah.
So is that like this particular case with Nala? Is that sort of one of the more challenging ones, or is that sort of par for the course? Or
I mean, the rescue ones are really the hardest because they're so scared, and they're not. Usually what happens is the adopter, they haven't been with the adopter very long, or they haven't been with the foster very long. And so if we have to, one of our saving graces is if the dog just gets adopted, it might have been with a foster for a longer time, and that dog might be bonded to the foster more so than the adopter, because the foster had the dog for a long time.
Mhm.
So we always have that in our back pocket to have like a foster come out and help us and leave their scent, and try and help us do the calming signals and getting the dog. But when I tell you, like, I wish there was like a textbook thing, like you could go to, okay, check A, check B, every single case, because the dog is different, the circumstances are different, the surroundings are different, and everything, the weather, I mean, just everything is affected.
Got you. No, I totally get it. It's not like there's no average. I guess they're all different.
It is. So please keep your dog safe and your cat safe.
Yeah, seriously, let you get some sleep here. I was wondering, so like, what's the best way for people to, if they need you, when's the best time for them to reach out to you in the sense of, hey, I'm really stuck, so I'm going to contact Jill, and what is the best way for them to contact you?
I mean, we have a whole list of things to do that they need to do immediately and not wait. Like if your dog, so we have people say, oh, my dog's been, gone before, chases deer or whatever, but now it's been a day and the dog hasn't come back.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I would much rather have had that person call me right then, even if the dog ultimately ends up coming back on its own. That whole day could be a whole missed opportunity. So like I want them to go through our checklist, but then be in touch with us immediately so that we can start helping them. Even if we're not physically coming out right away, we can get them rolling into the things that they need to do absolutely immediately.
Got you. And just one last question. You mentioned that they basically do a tight circle around where they get, sort of close to where they get lost. So is that because, that's just where they feel comfortable, or what's the...
So it's not necessarily that everyone does a tight circle. Some of them follow railroad tracks. Some of them follow water. Some of them do circles. And unfortunately, some of them who are not street savvy at all will run right into traffic. I mean,
Gotcha.
it just, again, each one depends. And that's why what we do is we keep track of every single sighting that comes in, when it happened, so that if there's a pattern, we can figure out, like, if it's going to be a long-term type thing to try and get the animal, we can try and maybe get ahead of the animal and see, okay, so every 2 days it's been over here, every 3 days it's going on this side, or, every, like Nala, I could literally count on, like, if she was over at the left side trap, like within an hour, she would be at the right side trap. She just couldn't get herself to like settle down. She had to find a place. But where she was, it was very congested. And so even though we tried to tell people not to chase, my gut is that people were trying to get her. And that's why, it took a little while longer to get her to just settle down.
Got you. Well, hey, Jill, this has been incredible. I really appreciate you sharing all this with us, especially the story and all the lessons that people can take so that we can make, we can stop losing pets, hopefully, or make it less likely to happen. Plus, if we need to go find them, then I think you had some great advice. So I really appreciate your time today.
Oh, I'm grateful to you, because anytime that I could speak about this and prevent, even if I just prevent one from getting lost, or help someone, I've done, it's worth it to me. And even if people are across the country and they need advice, my phone is on all the time. Like, literally, they could call me, they could text me, they can email me, and I will do my best to help them.
Well, hey, no, we all appreciate it. We need more people like you out there, that's for sure. Well,
Oh,
again,
thank
thank you very much for joining us.
you. Okay.